Okay, hello class. Sorry it's been a little while since I've done a video, but I'm back and we're going to talk about quiz 2, which covered chapters 7, 8, and 9. We're going to go through question by question again. This quiz was not as good as quiz 1 as far as grades and all of that good stuff. Let me pull up the grades and what they looked like for this quiz. Give me just a second. Let's see, it looks like for quiz 2, only 12 of the 15 people in the class submitted the quiz, so there were 3 people that got zeros. There goes my note where I happen to say, do the quiz. They're important. The class average for this quiz was a 64, but grades ranged from a 27 to a 98.8. So that tells me that there are some people who are trying really hard and doing very well, and there are some people who are not. When you leave the fill in the blank questions empty and the short answer questions empty, you're probably not going to do very well on the quiz. So don't do that. Now we'll go kind of question by question. This is going to be really great for you to study for your midterm, especially the online portion. So question 1 was, what does CRE stand for? And that was pretty self-explanatory. It's the very first page of chapter 7. CRE stands for Conflict Resolution Education, and it's what the entire chapter 7 is about in promoting conflict resolution. Question 2 is, each of the following is a type of conflict experienced in schools except. Almost everybody got this question correct. The choices were between students, and obviously that is a type of conflict that is experienced in schools. In fact, it's what we hear most about with student-on-student violence and conflict. Option 2 was between students and teachers, which is also very common, especially in elementary school, where you have children that throw fits and go out of control and kind of go against the teacher. In high school, you see this largely in acts of defiance and students who disrespect teachers. Option C was the correct answer. It is not a type of conflict experienced in schools, and it is between the school board and the teachers. And while this conflict may exist, it doesn't tend to affect the day-to-day school environment. And then option D was between parents and teachers, and this is also a type of conflict that can occur and really cause problems for schools. Question 3, which of the following statements is true? More people missed this than I thought they would. It is on page 136, and there's this really beautiful figure. It's figure 7.1, where it talks about how the tiered approaches are supposed to work. So the first statement is approximately 80% of students should be successful with Tier 1 interventions. And those interventions are the preventative, proactive interventions applied to all students. And they should be. They definitely should be. The way that the triangle works is, and this is the tiered triangle for tiered supports, is that at least 80% of students should be able to be treated with Tier 1 interventions. The second statement is approximately 15% of students should require Tier 3 supports. This statement is false. The page here on page 137, it says that 15 to 20% of students are not successful at Tier 1 and should move to Tier 2. However, only 1 to 5% of students should require Tier 3 supports. So if we're doing our Tiers 1 and 2 correctly, we will only have approximately 5% of students on that individualized plan when making intervention decisions. So the answer for that question was, which of the following statements is true? Just A, approximately 80% of students should be successful with Tier 1 supports. Question 4. It's a true-false question, and it says, the teacher's use of classroom management skills is not important when promoting conflict resolution between students. This has to be false. We know that classroom management skills are one of the most important predictors of promoting self-discipline in students, and then also in promoting conflict resolution. That answer, let's see, is on page 144 in the section titled Involve Teachers in Improving Their Classroom Management Skills. You'll notice these questions tend to go in order with the readings that we're supposed to do, so pay attention to that for future quizzes as well. Now we're moving to Chapter 8 with Promoting Safe and Healthy Schools. And the first question says to name one way listed in our text to foster student opportunities for growth and achievement. And let's see. That answer is found on page 165 in this section that's titled Fostering Student Opportunities for Growth and Achievement. So you could have said the academic rigor can foster students' opportunities for growth and achievement. Academic rigor is referring to those teaching practices and the curriculum. You want that to be challenging, and you want to demand high standards for students, but you also want them to be attainable. But you definitely want those things to require effort. Otherwise, you're going to have students who don't care as much because it's easy for them and they don't have to try. You are also looking for encouraging participation in extracurricular activities. Another way you can foster student opportunities is to reduce school size or classroom size. And then you can also include positive behavior management practices at both the classroom and the school levels. And we can do that by implementing that PBIS piece that we've talked about in previous chapters and through some of the discussion questions. Let's see, question 6 says, okay, so we're moving very quickly to chapter 9, which is the bullying chapter. And chapter 9 is preventing bullying behaviors in schools. And I figure that it is a chapter that most people find pretty interesting. Bullying is a hot topic right now in schools and in the literature. And so people are trying to figure out what bullying is and how we can address it in our schools, what kind of programs we can do, things like that. So the answer to this is bullies are likely to exhibit externalizing problems, while victims are more likely to exhibit internalizing problems. And let's see, not positive where that can be found yet. Oh, here we go. That's found on page 181 at the bottom of the page, and then on to page 182 to look at for your references. Question 7, this is another true-false question. It states, bullies are often popular with their peers and they are less likely to be bullied themselves. And many people miss this question because it doesn't make a lot of sense to us logically that bullies are popular. But think about the movie Mean Girls. Those girls were terrible. They were bullies to everyone in school, and yet they were the most popular girls in school and not bullied themselves. And so the answer to that is true. Bullies are often popular with their peers, and that is also on page 182. So bullying can be broken up into 3 categories of people involved. You have your bullies and you have your victims, but you also have this subgroup of individuals who are called bully victims. And these are the students who are victims of bullying, but they also lash out and bully others. And so these children have terrible prognosis. They are more likely to have no friends, both externally and internalizing disorders. And the research has stated that they arguably have the worst outcomes of all involved in bullying. However, it is difficult to research bully victims because it's a smaller prevalence of students. So prevalence rates are a lot smaller. You don't have as many students who are bully victims. And then it's also hard to differentiate those from who are just bullies and to those who are also victimized as well. So we don't do a good job in that in the research base. But which of the following is not true? It is true that they have arguably the worst outcomes. It is true that they are likely to have emotion regulation issues. And it is true that they are likely to suffer from both internalizing and externalizing problems. It is not true that they are the most studied subgroup on the bully victim continuum. In fact, they are the most understudied group. Okay, question 9 talks about, and bully victim part is also found on page 182. A large portion of our quiz came from this little section right here. The next question is talking about parent variables associated with bullying. And it says, it's a fill in the blank, and it says children whose parents are viewed as more blank are less likely to be involved in bullying. And this was a difficult question. This was a difficult question for some of the students in this class, partly because I think it's easy to mix up the terms authoritarian and authoritative because they don't mean the same thing. Authoritarian parents, they may instill use of coercion in their children, and it may lead them to believe that power can be used as a weapon in social relationships. And these are the types of parents, this parenting style, authoritarian, that is likely to have your children involved in bullying. Students that are less likely to be involved in bullying are those whose parents are more authoritative. And so this comes from pages 187, where we're talking about just kind of that very top piece where we're talking about just family variables, and then more fully on page 191 where we're talking about parenting styles. Well, Rumi's in the background, hanging out in the window. That's his favorite spot. But anyway, back to this. The answer to the question is authoritative. And authoritative parents set firm limits, but they're also encouraging input from children regarding life decisions and responding to children's needs. And those are the students that are less likely to be involved in bullying. Go look at those pages to look at the differences between the parenting styles. And finally, the last question on this quiz, it was a multiple choice selection. It says select all of the following statements that are true. So we're just going to take it statement by statement and discuss whether or not it's true or false. Statement 1 is the quality of an individual's relationships at school is among the strongest known predictors of student academic achievement. And that is true. And these questions, it was a little tricky of me. They come from all of the chapters, but specifically chapters 8 and 9. And so that is from chapter 8 in the Promoting Safe and Healthy Schools, where I believe that it is actually on page 151. But I will check on that. But the quality of an individual's relationship at school is the most strongest known predictor of student academic achievement. True. The norms and expectations the school sets up apply only to the students. Adults do not have to comply with the same expectations. This is false. Adults have to comply with the same rules that students do. It may look differently. So if one of the school rules is to be respectful, let's take the hallway. For a student to be respectful in the hallway, they may walk with their hands at their sides and put a bubble in their mouth like this so they can't speak. For a teacher to be respectful in the hallway, it may be that they talk to students in a respectful way. They don't yell. They interact with other teachers in a positive manner. So the rules may vary in how they look, but the rules are the same for teachers and students and all individuals who are in the school. Excuse me. Reciprocal accountability systems are those where teachers carry the full burden for meeting the goal of improving students' academic performance but have no control over the support structures. And this was the most missed item. Many people selected it, and it is false. Let me get to where that is located in our text. Let's see. It's on page 162, and it's kind of in the middle of that fostering a sense of individual value. And it's not reciprocal accountability systems that have that kind of set up, but it's the top-down accountability structures. Reciprocal accountability systems are those where teachers are held accountable, so like that said, but administrators are also held accountable for providing the supports that teachers require to achieve those goals. And so teachers are not left with no control over the structures. They have the support of their administrators who go with that. The next statement was bullying behaviors reach their peak in high school. This is false. Bullying behaviors tend to reach their peak in middle school, especially with physical aggression. This next statement, everyone got this one right, which I was very happy to see. Only females experience sexual harassment in schools. This is most definitely false. We know that males can also experience sexual harassment, and then there's also everyone on the spectrum of the LGBTQI spectrum who maybe don't identify as a specific gender, or we also know that individuals who do identify on that spectrum tend to be bullied more frequently than other students. And then finally, the last statement on this quiz is school climate is a critical factor in levels of bullying experienced, and that is definitely true. School climate is an important part of any kind of prevention efforts for bullying. Once again, that goes back to that PBIS system and how we can entice students to get along with each other and live by those school rules of, be respectful, be kind, especially in elementary schools where those are so prevalent. So that is the end of quiz 2. If you have any questions about any of the questions here, anything that you might have missed, or anything that you're not sure about, go ahead and you can start a discussion on our discussion board, and I will get with that immediately, or you can always send me an email. And good luck. Thanks.